In the genesis of existence, naught existed but the vast and enigmatic expanse, referred to as Greninja's abyss. From this unfathomable void, the very first realms took shape. To the south, Muspelheim emerged as a radiant land engulfed in unrelenting flames, fiercely guarded by Sur and his blazing sword. Meanwhile, Niflheim came into being to the north, a frigid domain cloaked in perpetual fog, where the spring heifer Gilmer resided, giving rise to the primordial rivers. These rivers flowed outward into the abyss, progressively freezing as they ventured further from their source, eventually crystallizing the northern reaches of the void into an icebound wasteland. The vaporous exhalations from this frozen landscape coalesced into layers of rime. In stark contrast, the southern reaches of the abyss were bathed in the warmth of sparks and embers emanating from Muspelheim. These fiery elements created a gentle breeze that drifted towards the icy north. As this warm breath touched the frosty rime, it prompted its transformation, causing droplets to merge and take on life, ultimately giving birth to Ymir, the progenitor of the frost giants. Remarkably, as Ymir lay slumbering, the sweat from his left armpit engendered 2 offspring while his legs gave rise to a 6-headed son. From this celestial coupling emerged the first frost giants. The moisture from Ymir's icy body formed the nurturing Cowladamel, whose milk provided sustenance by licking the salt-encrusted stones encircling her and Ymir. The Inca Empire sprawled expansively, spanning 2 million square kilometers, encompassing regions within modern-day Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Its vast dominion sheltered a population exceeding 10 million, comprising a tapestry of diverse ethnic groups and languages. Isolated within their realm, the Inca culture bore the absence of elements deemed indispensable in antiquity, a conspicuous example being their lack of a written language. Instead, their annals were meticulously crafted through an enigmatic system of knots known as quipu. The Inca Empire emerged from the ancient heart of Peru, where the creator god, Viracocha, serendipitously chanced upon 3 caves. From these mystical depths emerged 4 brothers and 4 sisters, predestined to become the progenitors of the Inca civilization. Concurrently, ancillary figures emerged from side caves, destined to shepherd the lesser-known Inca clans. Anco undertook a journey reminiscent of Exodus, leading his people to the fertile valley of Cusco. In a mystical occurrence, his golden staff descended into the earth, symbolizing the founding of Cusco. Anco assumed the name Manco Capac. In the early 1400s, a figure akin to Alexander the Great, dubbed Kuzia Panki, ascended to prominence, extending the dominion of Cusco from a modest chiefdom surrounding the city to territories that would later become modern-day Bolivia and Ecuador, all accomplished through the art of espionage. Pachacuti, an influential figure, adeptly evaluated the military prowess and opulence of neighboring states within the region. Armed with a repertoire of diplomatic finesse, Pachacuti dispatched messages to the leaders of these states, endeavoring to entice them into the fold of his burgeoning empire. Notably, Pachacuti restructured the kingdom of Cusco into the multifaceted entity known as Tawantinsuyo, neatly partitioning the empire into 4 distinct quadrants. He orchestrated the transformation of Cusco into an imperial epicenter, adorning it as the pivot of his nascent empire and erecting extensive networks of highways that intricately wove through the diverse lands under his dominion. The Inca Empire burgeoned prodigiously, assimilating conquered peoples within their fold, juxtaposing their approach to the Aztecs' penchant for establishing largely autonomous tributary states. Remarkably, the Incas exhibited unparalleled organization, adopting a supple decimal system to regiment their forces, amassing formidable armies numbering in the hundreds of thousands. In the throes of conflict, Inca soldiers donned innovative shields crafted from hard and light woods, while capes served as protective ensembles, guarding against missile attacks. Recruits hailing from the verdant provinces excelled in archery, contrasting with counterparts from other regions who favored the dexterity of dart throwers and slings for close combat. The Incas' weaponry repertoire was replete with diversity. The Inca military machinery became an instrument of territorial expansion across the South American expanse, quashing resistance wherever it dared to rear its head. In less than a century, they etched their legacy as architects of the most paramount empire in the Americas. Yet, A puzzling question lingered: how did they sustain the intricacies of such a colossal domain and feed the insatiable appetite of 10 million mouths amidst a landscape of stark climatic extremes? The Inca adeptly harnessed the profuse ecological diversity bestowed upon them by the formidable fluctuations in altitude. They skillfully orchestrated a symphony of cultivation, sowing an array of crops across myriad ecological niches and altitudes. This prudent strategy acted as a bulwark against the specters of famine triggered by climatic vicissitudes and pestilence. Moreover, their innovative agricultural ingenuity birthed a unique creation, the junior, a form of freeze-dried potato. A remarkable facet of the Inca civilization resided in its near-total aversion to the utilization of currency. Taxes manifested not as coin but as human toil. The remarkable administration, facilitated by a concept akin to MIT, empowered the central authority to mobilize labor across the sprawling empire, directing it toward the most exigent priorities. Yet, the invaluable role played by llamas and alpacas within Inca society should not be understated. These creatures bore the onus of transporting commodities, serving as a wellspring of sustenance in the form of meat, and perhaps most importantly, as providers of coveted textiles. The tightly regimented textile industry led to even the government prescribing attire for its subjects. The Inca Empire was punctuated by the construction of cucas, enigmatic warehouses, spaced at intervals of approximately 22 kilometers along the intricate Inca highway system. These repositories harbored a cornucopia of commodities, facilitating the swift mobilization of armies without being encumbered by the logistical baggage of weapons and equipment. Additionally, the Incas engineered a web of highways, cisterns, terraces, and irrigation channels, enabling the conveyance of messages across vast distances in astonishingly brief periods of time. The construction of terraces, a feat of engineering precision, entailed the assembly of retaining walls, layered meticulously with gravel, sand, and soil. The Inca heartland was transformed into an agricultural powerhouse, and the architectural grandeur of their constructions bore testament to their technical prowess. With stones cut to precision, they engineered edifices that adhered without the need for mortar. The peculiar Inca belief that the deceased retained the power to shape events in the corporeal world culminated in the meticulous preservation of Inca rulers' mummies. Even in death, these noble figures retained dominion over their wealth and land, underscoring the idiosyncrasies of Inca society. The dual facets of expansionism and distance brought about a peculiar paradox. The emperor's relentless campaign expeditions, undertaken far from the empire's center, accelerated territorial growth, albeit at the expense of consolidation. Rival power centers vied for supremacy with Machiavellian subtlety, while the Machiavellis and Medicis of the time keenly observed these political intrigues. The tide changed irrevocably with the advent of the Spanish in 1532. Hernán Cortés, returning from Mexico City laden with tales of conquest and unimaginable riches, captured the imagination of the Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain, Charles IV. Meanwhile, another veteran of the New World, Francisco Pizarro, prepared to rendezvous with the monarch. It soon became evident to Pizarro and his men that Atahualpa, who had once been an asset, had outlived his utility, devolving into a liability. Consequently, Atahualpa found himself tethered to a wooden stake and met his demise by strangulation, paradoxically in the name of Christianity. The conquistadors promptly departed from Cajamarca, embarking on the arduous journey to Cusco, leaving behind the desolate square with the solitary stake, where the lifeless form of the god King Atahualpa was interred in a hastily dug trench, partially consumed by fire. As Francisco Pizarro set his sights on founding Lima, Diego de Almagro ventured forth to conquer the southern expanse of the Inca Empire, an endeavor rife with ambition. Manco Inca endeavored to reconstruct his fragmented realm, plagued by the scourge of smallpox, even as Juan and Gonzalo Pizarro relentlessly pursued their ruthless quests for gold, silver, and native women. In the midst of these tumultuous times, the fate of Carrao Arclo, victimized through kidnapping and violation, bore silent testimony to the unrelenting turmoil. Gradually, Manco Inca apprehended the treacherous nature of the alliance he had forged with the puppet King Manco. The undercurrents of tension swelled to a climactic juncture. A clandestine assembly of Inca nobility convened, presided over by Manco himself, who delivered a resolute address to his chiefs. Subsequently, the gears of the Inca war apparatus commenced their inexorable turn. Native chieftains were coaxed away from their opulent abodes and estates, emboldened to embark on the path of unflinching loyalty to their emperor. In a resounding response to Manco's call, native soldiers flocked to the cause, arming themselves with clubs, axes, spears, and halberds retrieved from the vast storehouses. On the historic day of May 6, 1536, a tidal wave of 100,000 Inca warriors surged upon Cusco, compelling the Spanish occupants to retreat into two edifices ensconced in the heart of the main plaza. The Spanish could only be vanquished if they dismounted or were struck directly in the visage. Manco's stratagem was to ensnare the city within an inexorable noose, entrapping the Spanish forces and subsequently overwhelming them with numerical superiority. However, an unexpected conflagration consumed the rooftops, rendering the Spanish bunkers vulnerable.